Aim Hreem Shreem Bham Bhairavaya Namaha. My salutations to my dear Kala Bhairava. Hello and welcome to my three-part astrology series on Bharat. My name is Vijay Jyotish. This is a Prashna-based astrological reading on the near-term security future from now to June 2024 for Bharat vis-a-vis China. This prediction was first published in Twitter on 2nd November 2022. Since it gained some interest and some traction, I'm creating a YouTube video for it. If interested, you'll find a link to the Twitter prediction thread in the description right below this video. If you don't know what Prashna astrology is, then I recommend viewing my video on the 2020 US presidential elections. I've got a short summary in there which might be helpful. You'll find the link for this video in the description right below this video. This video today is the second in a multi-part series on Bharat. In the first part, I shared astrological insights in the upcoming Lok Sabha elections in Bharat, whether Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji will win the elections again. You'll find a link to that as well in the description right below this video. And in the final part, which is yet to come, I'll be sharing astrological insights on the future for Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. So today, let's look at what's in the near-term security future for Bharat vis-a-vis China, again from now to June 2024. First, the immediate focus for China appears to be on strengthening their economy, creating national policies to improve life, forging foreign alliances to bring gain, realization of profits in trade, and ensuring the well-being of their citizens by fulfilling their aspirations. China has a strategic civilizational view in all of their actions. Like us, they've been around for thousands of years. However, unlike modern-day India, the India that lives in its cities, the Chinese value, celebrate, and even embrace their civilizational history and wisdom. Unfortunately for us, our future is currently framed in the context of 1947 with the name India, which both inauspiciously and intentionally disconnects us from our civilizational history and roots of thousands of years. As such, we cannot hope for an auspicious future without first freeing ourselves from these shackles and reclaiming Bharat as our true identity. Some citizens might be of the view that perhaps Hindustan is the more appropriate name for our ancient nation and culture, as it might help underscore our majority Hindu identity. However, there is an important distinction between the names Hindustan and Bharat. The origin of the former, Hindustan, is foreign, and that of the latter, Bharat, is indigenous. All of the foreign origin names, including India, are originally based on the name Sindhu, which is a word in Sanskrit. Sindhu was used both as a name for the river Sindhu and to describe the region lying to the east of the river. The word Sindhu was then simplified into Hindu by the Persians, which is now modern-day Iran. The India name is rooted both in the Greek Indus and the Chinese Intu references. The name Bharat, however, has its origin in the Sanskrit word Bharata, which is deeply rooted in our ancient Vedic literature. As such, Bharat is the more appropriate civilizational name for our nation and culture. Unless we reclaim our true identity as Bharat, we can never really hope to unleash the true potential of our civilization. That said, let's move on with the prediction. China's massive investments in the military appear to be primarily for deterrence. There appears to be an inherent lack of interest in the People's Liberation Army for going to full-scale war with anyone right now, not even Taiwan, let alone a peaceful nation like Bharat. This disinterest appears to be even more predominant in their People Liberations Army Navy. However, Prashna indicates that China still appears intent on strategically provoking Bharat in a limited scale skirmish and occupying slivers of territory using a strategy of 1,000 cuts. This motivation for Chinese aggression seems to stem from this desire to occupy more land or territory. The current rumors about Bharat already having lost significant tracts of land to China unfortunately appear to be true. True to the philosophy of the Chinese general and strategist Sun Tzu, Prashna indicates that China will try to appear strong, for example, make public announcements of preparation for war, when they're actually disinterested in armed conflict. China's defense posture is one of strategic ambiguity, where one cannot really tell what their true intentions are. They will keep everyone guessing. Bharat will do well to remember that given the deceptive nature of their leadership and government, not the people, they are most dangerous when appearing friendly. For China, it is always strategy first, second, and last. All of the threatening weapons in their armor, especially the rapid modernization of the People Liberation Army Navy, are only to support their strategic actions and to drive outcomes in their favor. Using these vast naval assets and weapons in a full scale war is the final resort for China. The chart clearly indicates that the PLA Navy has no interest in putting their mettle to the test in a real battle. They appear to be actually quite terrified by the possibility of losing some of these massive naval assets in a real conflict and thereby losing face. They're quite happy with the strength projection that comes purely from the high number of their naval assets compared to Bharat. In comparison to Bharat, China appears to be extremely good at strategy. The Honorable dear Prime Minister Modi ji and dear Foreign Minister Jaishankar ji are merely exceptions in the flow of time for Bharat. Going by our national chart, strategy is not a natural strength that we appear to have over China. For China, with self-interest being foremost, they are by their very nature completely irreverent and oblivious to the perspectives of other nations, least of all that of Bharat, who they do not even perceive as an equal. Since China only cares about what it wants, a diplomatic win-win solution with reasonable and fair compromise appears to be highly improbable. The Chinese strategy is to wear their opponent down with endless and limitless meetings for negotiations and discussions. I think we've been seeing that happening. In addition, if Bharat has learned anything at all from history, it is that the Chinese leadership cannot be trusted with their word. All means, including betrayal, appear acceptable to them in their achievement of their aims. This is clearly validated in their national chart. Bharat must reconcile and accept that while we have wasted decades since independence in civilizational degeneration driven by conflicting political and regional interests and an acute lack of a collective vision for the future, China is now reaping the harvest of doing just the opposite. Prashna is clear that China is ahead of Bharat today in nearly all material spheres, except one: the courage and the fighting spirit of our troops to protect our motherland. Despite our many internal and external challenges, Bharat does have the upper hand on the battlefield. It is important for Bharat to note that having an endless array of military assets and the will, interest, experience, spirit to fight to the finish are two completely different things. This is the main difference between China and Bharat. Bharat must take care to ensure that the gains made by our armed forces on the battlefield are not lost on the diplomatic negotiation table with China. We are safe as long as the Honorable dear Prime Minister Modi ji and dear Foreign Minister Jaishankar ji are at the helm of affairs. The same, unfortunately, cannot be said confidently for other leaders in Bharat. Now you know why it's even more important for our dear Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji to win the elections in 2024. From Bharat's perspective, the time has come to settle some conflicts militarily. There is really no escaping this, and we will not be able to kick this can down the road. While both our history and ethos do not support and promote the initiation of violent military conflict, our armed forces must be prepared to give an appropriate response to any violations by China. Bharat must also learn to use conflict to further gains that really matter to us as a civilization. We must plan to occupy the Kailash Mānasarovar region in response to skirmishes anywhere on the border. This is far better than occupying extra acres of goat and sheep grazing land in frigid no man's territory. While wargaming with our supercomputers for conflict with China, Bharat must consider that our troops have the higher fighting spirit and that China is not interested in a full scale war, only a limited skirmish to occupy more land by a strategy of 1,000 cuts without harming their economy. This is really key. In our wargaming models, we must stick to time tested strategies and plan our responses in the framework of a well considered escalation matrix. In addition, Prashna is clear that the Navy must not be involved in the response as the results will not be as expected and less than satisfactory. Prashna indicates that China is planning a surprise attack on Bharat. This surprise attack is highly likely to begin on an unusually cold day between March and June 2024 when the weather is still frigid in our northern territories. The goal for China will be to use special forces to storm our territory, set up baits, and ambush our unprepared troops while they're patrolling well-established routes. The size of this Special Forces Storm Unit is likely to be unusually and surprisingly larger than what is typical for such units. The use of swords, axes, spears, bow and arrows, and hand combat is extremely likely. This attack will initially appear to originate along the north-south axis, but it will then quickly change to an east-west axis. This is likely also part of the deception in their strategy. It is possible that China might attack from the north and their all-weather friend from the west. Pressure is likely to be applied on both axes to divide the attention of our troops. Tactics such as feigning retreats and planned diversions could be used to inflict maximum battlefield damage. There is an indication that the 4th Corps of the Pakistani Army that is based in Lahore appears likely to intervene by opening a diversionary front on the Punjab border to split the attention of our troops. They might also appear to amass troops in one area and attack stealthily in a completely different area. Prashna indicates that while Chinese troops could be amassed on the Arunachal front, there is instead likely to be a stealthy attack in the Pangong Tso Lake area. They will likely use boats with shallow draft to navigate the lake and occupy territory before an organized response is possible from our troops. The attack could be on military barracks, near fenced areas, and lakes, as already indicated. There is also an indication of intrusion in any unfenced forest areas along the border. The motive for China is clearly to occupy more land. During this attack, China is also likely to attempt jamming our communications to both delay and sabotage a coordinated response from our reinforcements. As such, you can see why predetermined war-gamed plans for dealing with such scenarios is paramount. It is also possible for China's armed forces and secret agents to masquerade as Bharat's military in our uniforms. This will be used to sow confusion in a surprise attack. Bharat must plan and train for this scenario where we retain the ability to quickly identify our troops in such a situation. As such, regardless of what is reported in the media, the losses for Bharat unfortunately appear to be significantly higher than our gains. Prashna indicates that a number of our troops will make the supreme sacrifice in the service of our motherland. These losses unfortunately will be difficult to bear. In the absence of planning ahead, Bharat will likely react with an inappropriately harsh and lethal response due to the possible political ramifications of China's border aggression. Unplanned responses will lead to surprisingly heavy losses for us. If we do this, we'll need a good supply of body bags. Responses must be wargamed ahead of time and executed to plan. I cannot emphasize this enough. Bharat will also do well to simulate their response based on readiness levels today. If this border skirmish described above happens tonight, would we be ready? If not, the losses could be significant enough for even the mighty government of our Honorable PM Modi ji to stumble or worse fall. Bharat will do well to use the Kumaon Regiment, J&K Rifles, Punjab Regiment, Dogra Regiment, and the Gurkha Rifles in surprise formations for assaults to regain and occupy new territory. These units are likely to be the most lethal for Bharat. If there are any outstanding and long acknowledged issues that are overdue for redressal in the armed forces, especially in the aforementioned units, then the time has come to fix them on a war footing. Else, we seriously risk military failure. While Bharat has been very good at proactively mirroring deployments vis-a-vis China, it's now time to do the same with our Honorable Raksha Mantri. The Honorable Rajnath Singh ji has been a great Raksha Mantri for us over the last few years, but given the fast approaching violent conflict, it's perhaps time for someone in the uniform to lead in the role of Raksha Mantri. Prashna indicates that China will likely ask for ceasefire as soon as our troops respond with lethal force. But a premature and ill-considered ceasefire forebodes great inauspiciousness for Bharat. The war-gamed plans must be executed with a will of iron. Prashna indicates that the loss of territory is real in the event of poor preparation and premature ceasefire. It will then be very difficult to recapture territory without exacting an unacceptable cost to the lives of our armed forces. Prashna also indicates that a well-wisher of Bharat working with China will provide cryptic intelligence to us about their intentions. We must be very alert to correctly interpret these signals for our benefit. In addition, all military planning and wargaming in Bharat must be on a strict need-to-know basis, even at the highest levels. Prashna indicates that once this conflict initiates, it will take some time for it to deliver results in our favor. This will be a battle of wills. As such, wargaming becomes even more key. It will be a test of who will fold first. And if we have not wargamed this earlier, the pressure will be too great on Bharat. Nevertheless, despite all of these skirmishes and any changes in territorial control, both for China and Bharat, our overall security situation will remain largely status quo with China. There will be no decisive outcomes from this engagement unless the suggestions outlined in this video are considered and the remedial measures are performed. For Bharat, righteousness and ethics are paramount, even in conflict. However, for our adversaries, deceit and stealth in combination with ruthlessness is not seen as cowardly. Instead, it's simply the art of war for them. Nevertheless, at all times we must remain righteous and true to our ethics of warfare. No matter what is done by our adversaries, only then will destiny allow us to be victorious. Dharma eva hato hanti dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. Tasmad dharmam natyajami mano dharmo hato vadhit. Prashna also indicates that the wisdom of our gurus must be treated appropriately. Any smearing, dismissal, or derogatory insults and or dishonorable treatment to any religious and or spiritual guru will invoke the curse and ire of the Brahma Rakshasa. This applies to me as well. I am doing my dharma in forewarning Bharat. If you attack the messenger, then the karmic consequences of doing so are likely to be ruthlessly severe. As for remedies, Devi Upasana and especially Kali Upasana is key, in addition to considering the guidance already shared in this video. This will give us the protective sheet to navigate and survive this difficult time. In addition, as always, I will be including prayers for our Honorable dear PM Modi ji and Bharat in the Mahasankalpa of my daily homums. You'll find an example of this in the link shared below in the description. And finally, in the inspiring words of the Honorable Prasoon Joshi ji, I solemnly swear again as follows. सौगंध मुझे इस मिट्टी की मैं देश नहीं मिटने दूंगा, मैं देश का शीश नहीं झुकने दूंगा, मेरी धरती मुझे पूछ रही है कब मेरा कर्ज चुकाओगे, मेरा अंबर मुझसे पूछ रहा है कब अपना फर्ज निभाओगे। जब समय और अवसर प्रस्तुत होगा मैं खुशी से अपनी पवित्र मातृभूमि को अपना खून समर्पण कर दूंगा। जय हिंद, जय भारत and Jai Hind Ki Sena. I hope I've been of service to you. For those of you who are interested in a personal reading, you'll find details on my website vijayjyotish.com. You'll also find a link to this in the video below. Thank you and have an auspicious day and year ahead. Have a good one.